here. Taking in some sweet, sweet protection, and it's very appropriate for today. And I will let you know why here. So, what is on my and I will let you know why here. Humidifier right now. What is on the humidifier? What is always on the humidifier? What is in a sacred oil for me consistently is eucalyptus. Definitely a purifier, definitely a sacred instrument. Indigenous peoples have often seen the eucalyptus tree as a very sacred instrument, and its oil and its energies as divine. In fact, eucalyptus is known not just to purify, which it absolutely does in a medicinal sense. Rubs that are normally put on your chest that you inhale the vapors from actually kill bacteria up through your nasal cavity. And one of the reasons why I always have, and those that know me, eucalyptus on hand all the time, especially when I travel, because smelling the pure organic essential oils, definitely always get organic essential oils, because otherwise you're polluting your body with more chemicals. And when it's in a pure form like that, you do not want to be ingesting or taking in any way into your body, your soul's temple, anything more, that is not natural and could be detrimental, especially human-made products that are molecularly in a state of chaos and they can't combine appropriately the way that nature and the way that God has infused us in our DNA and our beings, our material beings. But so yeah, a eucalyptus oil, I highly recommend. I always have recommended it to people as a way to kill all of the bacteria through your nose and your nasal cavity. Thank you for all that are here. Thank you for all the hearts. Welcome, welcome. Today, we are going to talk about the shift that is happening. So, like I said, to open this up, I had my eucalyptus. I have my eucalyptus oil right now, circulating, clearing, cleansing me. But one of the sacred qualities of eucalyptus, thank you for all the hearts. I appreciate that. One of the sacred uses and known qualities of eucalyptus is very important to kind of start this YouTube live with, because to indigenous persons, in particular countries and regions and civilizations in our world, eucalyptus is known as separating the worlds, the dimensions. Eucalyptus has been known as being able to be the divider between the underworld and earth and heaven, which is very, very important to understand in this session that I'm going to talk about today. So please give answers or give questions, and let's talk about some things. Hello to all those joining, and thanks for the hearts. Thanks for being here. So it's very appropriate for eucalyptus to kind of start us out. And like I said, I often cleanse with it. I use it as a medicinal herb and for its qualities. Where are we from? Hello. We are outside of Seattle right now on what is called the East Side to people that have lived or know people in Seattle. And it's a beautiful sunny day, which is one of the things that I wanted to bring up this week. So I had a very significant realization come in this week. In fact, I've had two of them, that the path that people have chosen is very much starting to become known. And I brought this up in a previous Sunday Live, um, around politics, because it's very evident where a collective, goes with their decisions with our free will as a collective unit. And you can see that in things like elections and election results, especially when election results are very telling about where the collective of a country or a people are being based from, right? And so it just is what it is. We are absolutely, as I've spoken about before, in an evolutionary path where our souls chose to come here right now. And we have fought to be here during this time because we all have a part in what is going on moving forward, in whatever way, shape, or form that looks. And so, how you're interacting with consciousness and materiality at any given point, including millions or billions of people in a collective, is having a ramification. But it's also foretelling. It's very much an omen in and of itself, that it's foretelling where the trajectory is, at least for millions or billions of people, right? And you can see that in things like elections. But within our own lives, we can see this. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what maybe to start being able to receive around the path that you've chosen for yourself. Because as I've described in previous YouTube lives recently, so please go back and watch the videos. I know that they're long. People that know me know that when I channel or when I receive information, as my boys call it, my TED Talk, my ineffable ethereal TED Talks. So you can take the information, listen to it for as much as it, serves you, and maybe come back to it. A lot of people have people come back to things all the time. I have as well, for many people and many channelings and visions. But for those that know me, I do leave long channeled voicemails. Yeah, I see the hearts. I know, you guys know, and you come back to them and you save them. And because when you are open and receiving from the ineffable, there's so much possibly coming in, that it's a lot to translate. And sometimes it takes a while to be able to get to the gist of things. But sometimes there's just so much vision, so much information. So I'll try and keep this briefer on this live, and point out a couple of things, that have happened, this week for me, and that are showing at least my shift. Now, this evolutionary path that we're on right now, it's not just a bifurcation. There's people that have been talking about it, for months, for years. There's astrologers and divination or tarot readers that have been talking about this evolutionary shift, that we are now actively in, and that they saw coming either through astrology or through their channeling. But it's not just two paths. I know for sure that I am on a subsequent path, and it's paralleling the majority of the bifurcation that humanity is in. I am assured that there's minimally three paths right now, and I'm feeling that there's probably a couple of more. There's some subset paths that are happening that are paralleling this bifurcation, this predominant evolutionary shift and split between humanity that's happening now. And so I'll go into this, but again, eucalyptus being the separator of the underworld, the earth, and heaven is very appropriate to open this up. So the first thing that happened to me this week, and maybe other people can relate, and if you can, please, comment and or leave comments if you can see these similar circumstances, or if other people have, described these similar circumstances, because we are definitely going to continue to find each other. The people that have chosen particular paths, it's going to be very, very evident, and maybe not as evident as, Democrat or Republican or right or left, or that is a very, very distinct path, and very, in people's face for whatever reason right now, because it involves millions, hundreds of millions of people. But when it comes to your individual life, it's often a little bit subtler. Sometimes it can be very acute. You can have something, and I had two things come in this week. One of them was very, very acute and made itself immediately known to me, and it very much surprised me, actually. I did an entire channeling voicemail afterwards about it. And then the other one was very, very subtle, and it's actually taken a couple of days. It came in very quickly about what it meant, because I understood the spell behind it immediately. And it's something that is within kind of the ineffable, the spiritual communities, and people that have alternative abilities. That they've been using as a descriptor. So anyways, let me get into it. So there's two different ways that it came in, this shift that I'm on, this distinct path that I know that my soul in this incarnation is on right now, and that it's going to rapidly start not just showing itself, but resolving past, things. Most of the past things have been resolved. A lot of solar rays have come in recently. A lot of things that have been happening beyond the dimensions and the veils to clear a lot of people to be able to progress on the path that they have chosen, and or to burden those who have chosen other paths and that are having those karmas now activate towards them. And that also is very, very significant. And we can see it sometimes acutely when people are famous, right? And when people have a very big presence in the world. But even for us mere mortals, um, this happens, right? So, anyways, the first acute one is I was actually sitting here at my desk, and I was very involved in getting some Mercury retrograde mess cleaned up. Let's just say that. This Mercury retrograde I thought was actually going to be pretty intense, especially as a Mercury ruled sun sign in tropical. But it actually was more intense for me during the shadow phase. The actual retrograde itself has proven to be actually somewhat helpful. But because the shadow phase was, interesting, let's just say that it was interesting. I was doing a bunch of cleanup here at my desk on things that had to be resolved, right? And I was trying to resolve them before Mercury went into retrograde fully, which was this last week. And I had this siren go by me. My office sits next to a relatively well used road, um, and it's in a suburb, so it's really not a highly trafficked area. You have to really know the area that this is to even know how to get here or what's up here or anything. But the road next to the office here is, you know, more active than other roads around here. And I had this a couple of sirens go off next to me, which is not something that it's pretty typical, actually. There's a fire station not too far away. There's police stations not, too far away. So it happens, right? But what really um, put me in this perspective shift immediately. And what came through immediately with that perspective shift was it was the second round of sirens that I had clued into. And when I realized that it was a second round of sirens that were going next to right by my window, and that this had just happened a couple of moments earlier with the first round of sirens, but that it took me until the second round to notice them. The vision that came through was because that's not for me anymore. Because I am not meant for the drama anymore. It's not part of my life. It's not part of my path. It has nothing to do with me. That's the message that immediately came through. Has nothing to do with me. And then what came through was this is what is going to happen more and more for you. Things are going to happen around you, and you are not going to even be resonating, let alone living within them. It's literally like I am walking through them in a different dimension, like ghosts, or what people would call apparitions or ghosts in this lifetime, or aliens, or fae, or Sasquatch, or like a ton of beingness. They're in different dimensions. They're through and with us, but they're in a different dimension. And so they don't always show themselves, nor can most humans mentally, conceptualize or receive information from these other beings. And that's actually what I am shifting into, that the drama of the denser material reality around me is affecting me less and less, which is a great thing. It really, like at first I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, because I kept thinking to myself and talking, through this space, like when you hear an ambulance siren, when you hear police sirens, there's a reason why they are so profound and so acute to your hearing and your vision and your, somatic system, because they purposely have been made like that so that they would trigger you. But I was realizing they're not triggering me because they're not for me anymore. And unless something is absolutely for me, it's not going to affect me. It's not going to it has no business being in my energy, nor are we going to be a match anymore. When it is something to do with somebody else, if you're not energetically matched and aligned to my path, I'm not going to see, know, hear, feel anything about you. And that's the way that it's supposed to be, because I have a different path that I'm on. So if you've been experiencing this, if you've been hearing about this from other people, this is one of the paths. This is one of the evolutionary paths that people might be on. And I do know that my omnidimensional path is very much a subset. I do not believe that there's probably that many actual humans, divine human souls, because let's, get real. There are a lot of embedded beingnesses walking around in human bodies and what should be, you know, um, temples for divine souls, for sovereign souls, and they're not. They're not. They have been broken, and they have allowed things in that are not divine. So for those humans that are walking around that have divine souls, I don't think that this subset path probably has that many of us in it. I don't know what those numbers are. I'm being shown 144,000, and I know that that's a sacred number. So whoever the 144,000 are, welcome. Thank you for, inviting me. I'm on this path with you, but it's very much interdimensional. And another many, many things have been showing that to me. And this acute experience, this axiom shift that I just had of this realization that not all material, dense systems, forms are for me anymore. And I am literally going to be walking through by them and has no effect on me anymore. It's done. It's all cleansed. It's it's somebody else's. It's, meant for other beings that are in that energetic frequency and not for me. So, speaking of energetic frequencies, the other thing that came in very subtly this week is this wisdom and this awareness that is out there concerning the sun and concerning light, because there's a lot of different forms of light, let me tell you. Scientifically, I know people that own entire companies that base their thesis and their products off of the theory that the sun carries so many different types of light wavelengths, which are different types of energy and frequency wavelengths. And that is very true. But there's also so many other types of gradients of light. And light is a very interesting word to use in general, because one of the things that I have been experiencing for a while is that these new technologies that create these lumen lights and this whole concept of lumen. I was just thinking about like a luminous flux, but these lumen, especially headlights, they're based within a blue light, which we know from computer screens, and you can see even reflected in my glasses because I have blue light blocker in my glasses. And it's why I can stay in front of a screen that predominantly has a tremendous amount of light that is based within blue light. Because when I am affected by lights that have a predominant blue light basis, which a lot of headlights do, it's not natural, okay? Our eyesight as humans in this material form has evolved for millions, billions of years around solar sources, which are predominantly, especially in this mechanism, an orange yellow based light. Orange yellow is, acutely different than blue as a base. If you grew up or if your soul is a part of different interstellar systems where the different light predominance of that sun or those suns in that system are not of an orange or yellow base, then your material evolution of eyesight is going to be based off of a different, light base. Dogs are like this. They can only see certain colors. A lot of animals are like this. They can only see certain colors. But we've all, in these material dense forms in this particular solar system, we have evolved our vision off of an orangey yellow, light base. So a blue light base is false. And it's very distorting, especially for people that are sensitive or empathic. And so if you're experiencing sensitivity or, issues around blue lights, computers, headlights, any of these new lumen technologies, it's for a reason. First and foremost, we are not accustomed to those lights. And if you're sensitive, it's distorting us innately. And it's causing issues on levels that maybe have been studied, but I haven't pulled up the research on. I'm just speaking from my actual lived experience. But that isn't, it has to do with this second kind of subtlety that I'm talking about here, about this shift making itself known, at least through my life. So, like I said, the first thing that came through is my awareness that not all material density and conditions, especially dramas, anything where, if people are like vampires and they're trying to drain you, they're trying to get you all wrapped up in an emotion so that they can suck your energy from you. Just typical BS, right? And that a lot of people, especially if you're watching this channel, know has existed forever, and that they're little tactics, people, human bodies that are being inhabited by something else that's, malicious, whether you call it a demon or whatever you're calling it. It's, they try these tactics to get you confused, to get your, mind distorted, to get your head and your heart and your intuition, manipulated and distracted, so that they can harvest, what they need from you, whether it's money, whether it's fame, whether it's a new child from them, whether it's what they own, whether it's their profession, whatever it is that they're trying to suck hold out of you, because they can't manufacture it themselves, because they're not a divine being. They're being run, they look and as the appearance of humans, but what is actually operating them inside is not a sovereign soul that knows and remembers its divinity, connected with God as in all and every form and dimension. Not all divine souls are at that point, but inherently they know inside that some shit is just not okay, right? Just forewarn, I do curse. I do use raw and real language because I feel it's more succinct and effective to get the point across. Anyways, you know, beings that are not, able to create for themselves, steal from ideas and steal from other people. They have to, because they're not divine. They don't remember their divinity, nor are they operating or practicing within it, nor are they, grateful or acknowledging or appreciative of it. They use all of the distraction tactics. And so, for those of us that know what these look like, and we've been studying them and remembering them and being able to protect ourselves from them more and more, and understanding, natural plant, essences and things that, help us, ding ding, affirmation, things that help us be able to clear, to be able to, you know um, cleanse and keep those boundaries and those realities, separated between the underworld and earth and the heavens and the different dimensions, right? Things, beautiful things like eucalyptus, um, we can see, feel them a lot clearer. um, and that's what happened this week. So when I'm saying that there's this subtlety that came through concerning light, there's a lot of different forms of light, but there's also been a lot of awareness of these different forms of light for a long time. And people have often asked me, like, what about dark energy? What about black magic? What about all of this stuff? And as a Scorpio ascendant in tropical, and as a being that in this lifetime I have a very powerful stellium in the eighth house and many other placements that can see, feel through the BS quicker and quicker the longer that I practice this, and protect myself and give it all back 10,000 fold if you've been trying to project it towards me, like many of us have been able to remember in the prayers, in the scriptures, in the multiple iterations of sending all of the energy that is not meant for us back to that who originated it or what originated it 10,000 fold. For those of us that can remember all of these practices, all of this sovereignty of our divine souls, things like light distortion are very acute, even if they come across subtly. So I've had this issue with lumen technologies for a while, and I've known about it. I buy products that help protect me from it. I do what I can when I'm driving and, being bombarded with it, with everybody's like newer lumen technology headlights. But it's not natural, and I'm calling it out. It's a distortion. It's a man-made, purposeful distortion that is trying to distract and harm as many divine human souls as possible. And this is part of my PhD thesis and theory within compassionate technology, that not all the reasoning behind technology's development nor its uses is for the divine purpose of humans and the earth and all beings. And it really needs to be from here on out, because it is highly distorted when it is only operating off of capitalistic models. So there's products having to do with light, right? And I've known this for a while. But this week in particular, there was a topic of light that came up. And this is interesting. So the preface to what I'm going to tell you about the subtlety about how this came in and how I can distinctly see that I am on a different path than other people that I have known or interacted with that are in material form, but I'm not saying they're divine souls, because it's very obvious they're not, and I'll tell you why. I can feel this distinction between our paths showing up immediately now, but it was subtle. So the preface to this second subtle understanding of a shift that's actively taking place with people now. God, that smells so good. So blessed for eucalyptus on this plane. So blessed for eucalyptus on this plane. Just lights up the room, right? Because I do know the magics, because I have been remembering the magics, Gnosticism, mysticism, all of the different isms that have to do with wisdom, truth, pure knowledge, things that operate within the ineffable, within the dimensionality, within the different beingnesses, however you want to call it, whatever religion or cultural or, civilization context that you believe in. It's a very fine golden thread that has been woven throughout this existence and perpetuates in its truth. And it's predominantly based off of energy and frequency knowledge. That's the core of this. This is what makes material density. Taking energy and frequency and breaking it down into more and more denser material structures through different types of calculations and formulas. Because otherwise, energy and frequency is eternal, effortless, ineffable. Right? So how does it become material density? Cannabis plant spirit showed me the mechanisms that help make energy and frequency a material density years ago, when I was actually channeling the cannabis tarot, and I was on a beautiful early morning drive somewhere through the Carolinas from Florida up to Boston. And I'm eternally grateful, because it really started helping me see what light is. What is light? Because it carries many different forms. And our language, as somebody who is a magician, literally a magician, Hermes Trismegistus, this is my archetype as a Mercury-ruled sun sign. Somebody who understands how to operate the dimensions and the magics and the manifestations. somebody who's practicing this to remember it better and better, for a wealth of good in this realm, in all realms. That's what I'm here for. The investigator, the experiencer, the translator, the giver of information, the seeker and giver of information, pure in its form. That's what my soul is. I experience, I live, I give to you, you do what you want with it. But it's truth. And I have experienced it, and I offer it to those that I can translate it to. I also call it omnidimensional author, because there are a lot of us out there that have been using alternative abilities for a very long time to be able to give information to others so that you can remember too. Anyways, this week, there are people that I'm aware of in human form that I'm also aware of that are not operating within divine understanding. In fact, I'm quite confident by all of the psychological training and, therapy I've had with other similar humans, supposedly humans that were operating from malicious realms and in with nefarious and ill intent towards me and others. So from a psychological standpoint, from a spiritual and ineffable standpoint, from a personal standpoint of somebody who has interacted with these very malicious beings in the past and had them seen, cleared, and now I practice and clear of others, I know that these humans are not operating from their divine selves. And they showed me the path that they're on, which is very different than what I'm on. And I'm continually trying to be sucked back into this energy, but it's not for me. It's just like the sirens. It's not for me. I'm not on that path anymore. I am on a very, very different journey, and I've been being given my clear visions and marching orders for quite a while now. And I am absolutely on that journey. But that doesn't mean that I still don't see, feel, hear them sometimes. I felt the second passing of the sirens, and the third, and the fourth. But when they were coming by me, I had already had the realization none of it is for me. And none of it is going to be for me more and more. It is going to be sent back to that which it was originated tenfold. And they're already starting to show that. So these beings that I've really, especially one of them, tried to keep a lot of hope, a lot of compassion, a lot of sympathy for, because I know that they're being manipulated maliciously, but if that's what their soul has chosen, that's what their soul has chosen. I can't do anything about it. You can only hold space for or be involved with it for so long. After a while, the drama doesn't apply. It's not my path. So, water off a duck's back. It's, blowing smoke in the wind. It's completely cleared. And I don't resonate with it. But the clarity through it really was amazing for me this weekend. So, one of the things about light and this whole kind of subtle, expression of light, is that there are a lot of people for many years involved in alternative abilities, which I have not ever felt truth within. And it's the descriptor of being, light carriers, or that you're, it's usually a descriptor that's used in the same context of spiritual warriors or the spiritual metaphysical, community. And it's commonly known as light workers, and the term light workers, and it's never resonated with me. Um, and the reason why I I mean, just in the back of my consciousness have known that light workers has never resonated with me is because of the definition of Lucifer itself. Oh yeah, and my screen is just all sorts of going crazy right now. Because one of the definitions, a main definition of Lucifer is as the light bearer, the bearer of light. And if you understand the mechanism of spells, right? The magic within language, written, orated, whatever it is a spell. It is a vessel. So people's names are very, very tied to whatever it is, a family history, a perpetuation that you want that person to be, whatever it is. Usually it's the parents or the family or the people before the being is born that gives them the name. In my case, I was bestowed with it many years after as an adult when I had a spiritual awakening, when I had my Saturn return, and Saturn was just like, oh, hell no, beautiful existence. You are not that name. You are not that form anymore. That is not for you. Somebody gave you that name. You inherited that name. You married that name. This is your motherfucking name. This is what you're going to be living by because this is what your soul came here to do. Sorry, I got a little bit of my Southern Baptist preacher that comes out every once in a while. Past life. I let them all come through. I live omnidimensionally now, so, it is what it is. But one of the reasons why I never ascribed to light worker is because I have known the spell behind the name. Any names. What I'm telling you, lumen, L-U, bearer of light, L-U, Lucifer, L-U, Lucas, L-U, luka, light bearer, bearer of light. That's the etymology. That's the spell. And if that's what you're calling in, that's what you are. Don't try and hide behind your alternative abilities and call yourself something that's immediately questionable. Because you're either a divine, sovereign fucking soul and you know your connection and you live it authentically, or you're remembering it, or you're practicing it because it's inside of you and you have to let it out and you have to connect and you have to be one with the divine, or you pretend and you give it names for yourself or for others that are directly attributed to the other types of light. That is a very, very foretelling sign immediately. And for those that are hearing this and listening, please consider this. Consider the descriptors that you're giving to yourself and others, especially if you're projecting it onto a new being. You are literally calling that magic into this sphere. And is Lucifer what you're bringing? Because is that where you're based? Or are you a divine soul and you can create from your own beingness because you remember your sovereignty and your connection to the divine innately, like I do? If you're not on that path, you're not on that path. I'm not sitting here and trying to pass judgment. I'm sitting here and telling you my experience of what I've been seeing, feeling, and knowing through my own revelations, my own axiom shifts this week. whether they were acute or whether they are subtle. They are showing up around us everywhere. And you need to be participating to see them. You need to be participating, or at least open or acknowledging or curious or something. If you weren't those things, you wouldn't be here. This wouldn't be information that is valuable to you, let alone listening to almost 45 minutes of it. But if it is for you, it is something to consider, to ponder. There are many other, spells that you can use to describe. I use words like ineffable. I use words like omnidimensional because I've looked at the etymologies of them. I understand the spells that are behind them. When I sit in their multiple definitions of different cultures and civilizations, I know that that's the truth. Are you living in a L-U-C, light? Are you being a light bearer? Are you giving that descriptor to other things that are supposed to be bearers of light, especially if they're not you, especially if they're newness? Where's it coming from? You know who I'm talking to. You're showing your path. Just is what it is. You have every opportunity with free will to choose something differently. But the paths have predominantly been chosen, and people are on them now, and people are seeing them, and they are opening up or they are closing off. Are you getting karma activated? Or are you getting that shit cleared? Look to see what the signs are around you. Is the drama for you, or is it not for you anymore? Do you just walk right by it and it doesn't even faze you? If the drama doesn't faze you anymore because you have a clear vision of who you are and you know your divinity and you know the sovereignty that you are given with the divine in union, yay, stay here. Be more active in the community. Ask me questions. Let's go. Let's fucking go. Because our path is here in front of us. It's everywhere. And that BS doesn't have anything to do with us. That low level energy and light doesn't have anything to do with us. We are not light workers. We're not working for nefarious light sources. We are our own divine sovereign souls, motherfuckers. Let's go. Because it's time to go. It's time to get going. I'm on my way. I trust you are too. I'm going to leave this here today because it's already been a long time. I'm going to embrace my eucalyptus and very much what the ancestors and the indigenous are very true about. It separates and helps separate the dimensions so that you can see things clearer. You can see the underworld, feel the underworld clearer from the earthly plane and from the heavenly planes, from the different dimensions. Get you some eucalyptus, get some clarity, start walking with the divine. Make those choices so that what you are bringing in are not bearers of light and the lichen that subscribe to that, but you're actually coming from the true source, the sun, the orange, the yellowish source of energy and frequency, not from the falseness, not from the false light. Anything luminous. Thank you for being here. Have a wonderful Sunday and a week.